Good morning. Morning recorders. Okay, has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? Paul's part is actually a little longer than it shows on here, but mostly his stuff, other than the things you see mentioned here. Any conflicts of interest that anybody recognizes? Jean will be joining us shortly when she gets to her car, as I stated earlier, so. Madam Monitor, would you read us the minutes?
You bet. March 28, 2023, the Board of Supervisors met at 9 a.m. with Ty Rosberg, Chairman presiding. Members present were Schultz, Dozark, Rosberg, Mulbauer, and Hayden. Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. On motion, the board recognized claims for public health and approved claims for all other departments. ISAC service awards were handed out to Kyle Schultz for 20 years, Greg Miller for 30 years, and Dwayne Zink for 25 years. The board recognized the hiring of Richard Rasmussen, seasonal part-time grade crew employee, David Rice, seasonal part-time grade crew employee, Mitchell Schwartz, seasonal part-time ditch crew, West employee, Terry Lally, seasonal part-time gravel haul employee, Barry Jurgensen, seasonal part-time motor grader operator, Tony Dieter, seasonal part-time motor grader operator, Kay Blanc, regular part-time engineer office employee, Ken Rocker, seasonal part-time roadside employee, and Vernis Nissen, seasonal part-time roadside employee in the engineers department. John Thomas, Hungry Canyons Alliance Program of Hungry Canyons Alliance Program had a discussion with the board, giving supervisors an update about the program. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Dozark, for intervention with Iowa utility boards and HLP pipeline. Motion passed unanimously. Motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Hayden, to proclaim April of 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Crawford County. Motion passed unanimously. A discussion was made by the board about soil restoration ordinance. Sandy Wolf with Wolfie's Bash had a discussion with the board about liquor license for the Bash. Motion was made by Mulbauer, seconded by Hayden, to approve the following resolution. 2023-18 resolution allocating American Rescue Plan Act funds. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see, as lost revenue funds. Voting aye, Hayden, Rosberg, Schultz, Dozark, and Mulbauer. Motion passed unanimously. Motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Mulbauer, to approve ARPA funds of 25,000 to Little Hawks and 25,000 to Under the Sun Day childcare facilities. Voting aye, Schultz, Rosberg, Mulbauer, and Hayden. Voting nay, Dozark. Motion passed. Motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Schultz, to approve the Unison Voting Solutions Incorporated by Henry Adkins software license agreement. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Mulbauer, to approve the purchase agreement with Unison Voting Solutions by Henry M. Adkins and Son for 15 open elect freedom vote tablets, ballot marking devices. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Hayden, seconded by Dozark, to approve Amy Piper to schedule wellness clinic for June 20th and 21st. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Hayden, to approve public hearing for budget fiscal year 23-24 for April 18th, 10 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors boardroom on the second floor of the courthouse. Motion passed unanimously. The board met with Chris Nelson of Grunwald, Bell and Kine to discuss the approval of the audit for fiscal year 21-22. A discussion was made by the board about city center remodel. No action taken at this time. On motion, duly seconded, the board adjourned at 12:15. Agendas for the next meeting are posted and available at the courthouse on Friday, 4:30 p.m. preceding the next meeting.
Do we have any additions or corrections? Sounded pretty good to me, man. ma'am. Okay, moving on, supervisors reports. Kyle?
I don't have a lot, but conservation board meeting tomorrow night, 4:50.
Okay.
And been working, Terry's been helping, very instrumental in the Charter Oak Township Cemetery, north of, by the 3, not the one along the highway. There's a lot of confusion going on here, but
Yeah.
through research, it seems that we are the deed holders of that property from back in 1991 or 95 or something like that.
Yeah,
The county?
Yeah, because there was an association that handled it, and that association,
Disbanded or something.
yeah, they consisted of 3 shops, Adolph, well, and then thing back, that's about when they all passed away, so. At some point in time, instead of leaving it to the township where it should have been, it got in our lap.
Oh,
So I've been working with the township trustees saying, we just wanna deed it back to you. That way they can tax for it,
sure.
they can create revenue for it.
Mhm.
And they're in favor with it,
they are?
yes.
Oh, good.
So I think that's gonna be the next step, just to
Okay.
deed that, simple deed it back to the town, Charter Oak
So
Township.
who do they tax?
The township.
Township, people that
Townships
live in
can
the
tax
township.
for cemeteries. So they got muddied because,
So each.
And if there
person-
are people from other townships that get buried there, those townships can actually levy
Oh,
at,
interesting.
Kind of like fire support.
Yeah, so really, there's no funds being generated for the care of that cemetery right now, so
Right.
I'm trying to,
they're
Trying to
probably
figure out.
just getting done in the whole scheme of things, because it's in line with those 3.
yep,
You know what I mean? And I mean, it's almost full, except for like a bottom corner.
There's
one of-
just some
who's been
spot-
doing the care?
well, Teddy Butler's
Mm.
been mowing it and taking care of it, but he's getting paid, so I think.
By the county?
By the
no,
township.
By the township, it's so muddy, it just needs
I
to be
know.
cleaned up.
Yeah,
The township is,
Has he mowed all 3 of them then? Does he
He mows
mow
the
all of
Lutheran-
them?
putting Randy on there right
North
now
one
is the best time to
and
get
the
her cleaned
south
up.
one.
When you say all
The
3,
Catholics all mow.
So they're
Catholics,
like stacked. If you look at the,
St.
if you look at
John's
the,
and then,
St. Boniface.
St. Boniface and then the township, there's 3 cemeteries.
and then there's one way off here too,
One that's over on the highway.
The one, yeah.
all at one location.
Yeah.
as the crow flies anyway, way over
Remember
here.
St. And there's St. Paul's around to the east, St. Paul Cemetery, which the township has collected tax dollars for that one,
Yep,
6 cents per thousand.
Yeah, seeing it, so part of the problem was that money for St. Paul was going directly to St. Paul. And it never should have. It should have always gone through the township. So this year, we got them, specifically Letha Gosler, who was maintaining that, supervising it, marking graves.
Mhm.
Got her to turn
she
her
was doing
stuff
the
in.
mowing, yeah.
Well, I don't know if she was doing
know
the
she stopped
mowing,
to
or
get
she
a
was
gas
marking
can for
graves and
for
stuff, maybe
Memorial
she
Day.
was. She probably was.
Mhm.
Well, I think she took offense to it and thought we were not trusting, and it's not that we weren't trusting. We needed to audit. We needed to audit those books, and they really hadn't been properly audited in years.
And
I
your
think
job.
that's where,
And not, cause I wasn't understanding that the money was going. And actually found out that all of the cemetery money was going into this account. It wasn't good, it wasn't good. So anyway, we stopped it.
seconds more.
She was upset and gave us everything. She gave us the old book for the cemetery and has been calling us. I think she's called us 2 or 3 times about marking graves. I'm like, Letha, I said, I've explained this, I'm not marking graves. I was like, I don't know at this point who is marking graves. That's when I started talking to Kyle and trying to figure this out, cause.
It's very common, because St. Paul collects tax dollars, the cemetery does,
Mhm.
the township collects it for them.
Yeah, now, yeah, it
But
goes directly to the
The
township now.
people that I know mow that cemetery are not being paid out of that fund.
Oh, what are they getting paid out of?
That's Randy Weed's trying to figure that out. So there's must be another checkbook that is operating off of plot money or what that's paying for that, unless there's a fund that, cause that name, your neighbor was always, he's kind of the one that always paid for that,
Yeah.
took care of who mowed that out there. So,
It's right there off his ground.
yeah, so I mean,
I know,
it's a mess, but,
it's a mess.
but by deeding it back to them, and then they'd be able to tax for it, and then they'd be able to.
And then we need to figure out the St. Paul part. Because there is a levy for St. Paul.
Right,
But where's that money going?
It's currently going to the township.
I think that's the money they're using.
And there's
to
a
pay for
checkbook.
the mowing out
It's
at
her-
the Charter Oak Cemetery.
Okay.
Cause when you ask the people who control that checkbook, they say, well, we have never wrote a check to this gentleman for mowing a cemetery. Well, who's paying him then?
Right, so we're
But-
trying to figure this all out,
I
but.
think we just start by getting that deeded back.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Randy will get that. That's as good as anybody we could ask for to have on there, help get it sorted out.
Yeah.
He's working on it.
Yeah, Randy and Lori are both part of the township,
Mhm.
which is great.
Mhm.
And, they just knew they didn't want to mark graves. And it's like, yeah, we're not gonna ask you to
But like,
mark graves. We're gonna, once this all gets sorted out, I think there's gonna be people or a person or that's gonna be willing to do
The
that.
Cemetery Association or whatever, that'll take that
Right.
over and then township will collect the money,
And
write
then,
a check to the association,
Pay
so
for
there's a
those.
money trail, and then it's just.
yeah,
Take care of
then
business.
it takes care of
yes,
your
yes.
requirements as doing
Yeah,
the
so we
audit.
can audit the county funds that go to the township. That's the main thing,
So we need to have a county attorney draw up the deed or?
probably.
Probably, yeah, I got a copy of it over there, I took it last week.
Did you? Thank you. Awesome.
Do we need to do anything at this table?
Not right now. I
Not
don't
yet.
think, But once.
Not
So,
Okay,
I think there's
Well, thanks
other
for working on
instances
that.
like
Appreciate it.
in the county.
you know, I'm sure there is, we
I
need
hope
to
not.
find them.
I hope
It seems
not.
like, maybe not exactly.
It's hard because when you change people in, I don't put my eyes on every single piece of
Right.
paper. So it's just, we're training, we're learning what to look. And Michelle's doing a great job of going through all those books and getting the financials from the townships and learning a heck of a lot,
These
so
oddities do come up.
they do,
Cause we certainly know where every cemetery is in Crawford County.
yeah.
So
We
you
have
just
a
have to check to
nice
see
spreadsheet of
if it's owned by
Yeah,
the
see, and they
township.
can levy owned and they can levy unowned. They're just two different rates. The owned, you can levy more, there's a higher levy than the unowned. So,
So you can levy in a township, you can levy for unowned, meaning I don't have the cemetery in my township, it's in this
it
township over
means the
here.
township doesn't own the cemetery, that maybe it's a
Oh,
private cemetery
but they're
or
clearly-
outside of the township. Because they're residents of the township are being also buried there, so they're supporting the
care of
operation, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha, okay.
I imagine there's probably some that don't levy for cemeteries.
Right. Some don't.
I'm guessing Willow's probably no.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
cared for by the conservation board,
Oh, okay.
supposedly. I think somebody did come and cut some trees down a year ago, so somebody's taking care of it.
Maybe the farmer nearby. I don't know.
Right. these
I don't know where
trees
it's
are-
located
This
currently.
square
driving around
chainsaw
these
might have
trees.
reached through the fence to get a couple more trees. I'm not saying it didn't now,
Okay, that happens.
but when they're hanging on.
I know.
So, that's about all I really had, I think, other than,
Good stuff.
it's just some more talk, and I talked with Greg about
every day, so. it's
the
kinda-
county farm. He was gonna reach out to Mr. Pardette, I think, in regards to see if there's.
I think he'll be here later.
Yeah, but I don't think, we can't really talk about.
No, I
that
know.
During that time frame, so just trying to keep that county farm. Whatever,
Moving
Yeah,
or whatever.
the
Yep.
fact finding part of it to moving.
That sounds good. Appreciate doing the cemetery and that. Thanks.
Can't hardly say no to the cemetery, I look at it from the house. You can too.
I know I can.
I got a better view of both of them.
Yeah. You're looking down on them. You could be the overseer, how's that? Give you something to do in your retirement when Carson comes home from college.
Oh, he's home,
Is he?
he's home.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, Mr. Dozark,
I don't have anything. I didn't have any meetings last week, so
okay,
nothing.
nothing, nobody's bothering you?
Nope.
Things
No
that need to be
phone calls.
done, or, okay,
Okay, I will bring up to, on the county farm, I did have some people reach out to me just asking what, what was happening, wanting to know, and I think the gist of the majority of the people I talked to said, well, I don't wanna see it just be sold, just to be sold. And I said, well, that's not the intent, it's just to have discussion about how to better utilize our county farm going forward, and, but I think it's just concern or just wanting to know, what's gonna happen, and that we're not gonna just sell it and then have nothing to show for it.
Mhm.
I think
And I
through my conversations, there's three key points that have been hit. Conservation, education,
Mhm.
and somehow make tourism. And I think if we can hit all three of them and still own it, I think it'd be a win-win for the county.
Yep,
well, it's still always an ace in our back pocket to use for something unforeseen down the road.
yep,
But if we do sell, you see, you want something likewise that we use those funds to, then,
well, something that benefits the taxpayer
right,
and gives you a long-term benefit. I think that's probably, just like what they said with ARPA funds, make sure you're building yourself something that serves your county for a long time, so I think that is the same thing there, wouldn't you?
Yep.
yeah. And then I had last Friday, a legislative update with the ISAC group, and a lot of the same things we've been covering again, but they just mentioned how strange of a session, like Jamie Cashman, I've been there, I know you've been there 15, 20 years. He said, I've never, ever seen a session like this. And it's a weird alliances. You might have environmental groups that are now teaming up with other groups that are trying to get an eminent domain pipeline bill passed that we never seen hand in hand together. He did say, they talked a little bit about the eminent domain, and it, of course, failed out of the House. It didn't even come out of Senate Commerce Committee. It's just dead in the water right away. He also said the Senate leader of that committee did work for the pipelines beforehand.
No conflict there, huh?
Was mentioned, but that was an interesting point.
Connect the dots.
Yeah,
Trying to move something forward, it's the same thing that we talk about when it comes on pipeline, protecting your landowners and your citizens, but yet not stifling economic development.
Mhm.
Then it was noted that House Leader Bobby Kaufman is going to have his own version coming up soon, his property tax reforms. So everything that we had talked about with the other property tax changes, now we could have something completely different. And they didn't know at this moment what's even in it or what's not. It was just said that there will be a new version
In this session?
in this session.
Boy,
Isn't that kind of
seems
late?
late
Well, that's what I thought.
throwing some
yeah.
new stuff.
I don't know how-
Gavelled out yesterday already.
So I don't know how that,
Aren't they through second funnel?
Yeah,
Yeah. How like
so I
that?
don't know how, if they have a certain right to do that.
Hang it up in the Christmas tree bill or what?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time we've seen something come out of the Christmas tree bill.
Right?
yeah,
I mean,
lots
the
of
DOT
craziness.
bill came out of that,
Yeah.
and they haven't, that's a pretty, of the state, that's top priority for property tax reforms. And a lot of it goes back to people are upset about their assessed values and where that's at, but at the end,
It's easy to move a needle when everybody's upset. So if you do one thing positive, you move that needle real easy.
but yet, like our concern here in the county, local level, or even any of our cities, just don't tie our hands to not provide the services that we do,
Yeah,
which we do very efficiently now.
well, I sure think we do.
Well, you stated though that maybe we weren't told that so much during a recent senator's radio interview the other day, huh?
Yeah, well, we give the runaround if they come to check on their valuations and stuff. I don't know if he was generalizing or if that was implying Crawford County or But, I'm pretty sure if you come into Dwayne's office, he'll inundate you with the details, so. And give you, and I even had a couple of people call me, I said, call Dwayne, I guarantee you, he'll tell you how to appeal your, your assessment. So, I mean, just come on in.
Right.
And I've never gave anybody the runaround. I've told them where they gotta go.
Right.
I mean, that's where the wheel meets the road
Right.
here.
I read what you posted. It covers a lot of what is actually happening with, I mean, it's not just a Crawford County issue.
No,
It's a statewide national issue, and
yeah,
you put all the pieces together of inflation and everything that has happened.
yeah.
I mean, it led us to this point. And I think too, it's just tough because you see inflation and the cost of living going up and everything else, but yet wages haven't followed, and then now assessed values have gone up, which means your levy is gonna go up. But yet your net worth is going up.
Yeah,
And
and that's just it, I posted that on that, I said, and just hope that inflation don't push it to where we have to increase levies too, or at least be able to lower them.
or that the state property tax changes don't cut us so bad that.
We don't get any more unfunded mandates that
Right.
force our hand to bill for more.
And then another one that was brought up was Senate File 443 again. That was that requirements of the counties. It started off with a 60,000 population to go to Plan 3 for the districts. Now they amended that to 125,000 population. Then they had a new twist come out of it. Well, maybe all the Regent universities should have to go to a Plan 3. So that basically is targeting you and I, Iowa and Iowa State. And then it was right, well, why, I mean, what's the reasoning? Why would you want to target them to be a Plan 3 versus letting them vote and decide themselves? And that was, I think didn't go very far for that anyways. But it also, in that bill, which would affect as an ISAC is registered against that, supervisors, if we had a vacancy, no longer could just appoint somebody to fill out the rest of that term. We would be required by the state to have a special election at our cost.
Unfunded mandate, keep them coming, guys.
Which, I mean,
They're gonna vote themselves right out of office is what's gonna happen.
Well, that's what they're on their way
but
to.
and that is sad because you could have a vacancy that you only need to have somebody fill for 2 months, 3 months. Now you'd have to have a special election.
Yeah.
And look at that cost, you full well know the cost
Nothing
and
to
the
do there
time.
for you, huh?
And where yet,
I would
to
assume
take
that
that control out of a local board to decide that whether to appoint or go to a special
I
election.
would assume that your auditors are completely against that idea.
Oh, I'm sure.
But here again, there's probably a few bad actors that have caused all this.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, 2 counties that are creating problems but you gotta sort your way through that. You can't just throw this. I mean, it's just like with what we're dealing with juvenile detention, where the states, when they originally committed the DUI monies to 50% of the cost for juvenile detention is down to 10% now, and the counties are eating all that. None of that stuff ever gets brought up when they're talking about we're taxing too much, Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But there is a natural way to correct those bad apples. It's elections.
Right.
So why punish the
Yeah,
counties like us that are doing our due diligence to live
excellent.
within our means of our budget, but yet if you have a bad actor and the county suffers for it, they have the full right every
But if
election
the
cycle.
taxpayers aren't aware of these bad actors, they don't even know. I mean,
Good point.
Until it starts to hit their pocketbook or their
Right.
taxes or
And it's
they
hard
can't get the
to-
services they
hard to
need.
spread the word without creating slander or, you know what I mean? Some accusations coming out of it that,
True.
But they
I'm just
have a
saying,
remedy to fix those
It's not easy.
eventually, but yet we have to adjust our way of
It's huge.
living for a bad apple. And to me, it's overreach by the state. to-
That's part of the duty of the fair free press,
Right,
Make sure everybody knows.
right?
right.
It's
Yeah,
just an
excellent point.
elementary school playbook they're using right now, and just, we're gonna punish the whole class because one person,
I feel like I'm in basic training again. What do you think?
Yeah,
now that you mention it.
but all the changes they've made in election law are based off of other states and their issues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're
That's a
trying
good
to,
point.
and
Good point.
yeah, it's not the problems we're having here. Iowa's conducted clean elections for many, many, many years, with the help of the Secretary of State's office.
With great turnout.
Yeah.
And we've
yes.
always had good turnout.
Yeah, you know, protecting all the information with cybersecurity, you know, protection but all these law changes are based off of, or a lot of them are based off of situations that happen in other states. And it's like, but yeah, if it ain't broke.
Well, and that's what Lucas said, that legislate till it's broken. And that's what's gonna, and that's what it really feels like.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what.
take off the people, the boots on the ground like us that are on these boards serving like mental health, and well, now you don't get that vote. You only get 49% max.
And this is the
Right.
people
Well,
that
how
are
many
programmed
conversations
to
were
watch
held
over that.
locally
Right.
to even know, you know what I mean, that locally, we didn't have any input in that.
Right. So it's a unique session, like they said. Comp board was the last thing they brought up again, and it's pretty much same thing, being debated, of course, but yet moving forward. The show your work element is kind of, I think, the leading way to go about it. Fix it, not just abolish or get rid of the comp board altogether. There is an amendment that said you can't dissolve the comp board. It also come brought up, and then as it moves forward, salaries cannot go lower for an elected position. So let's say if you get a new person in for an elected position, you can't set them back. You can't.
Because they're inexperienced, you can't.
You can't base it off of experience because it's an elected position. And that's what the legislator is pushing forward, that.
But
They said the only way it could go back is, let's say if a county goes to a part-time, let's say, for example, a part-time county attorney.
Right.
Well, now you can go set it back because it's only a part-time position, not a full-time position. But you can't, they don't want salaries being adjusted because of experience.
Once again, telling us how to spend the money, but telling us that we don't need as much.
There was a caveat that
your sheriff brought it up.
was brought up
Oh, they're
though.
changing that though too. Back the
The back of
blue.
blue?
I heard something about, I
Okay,
saw
I
it
didn't hear
in, it was in the stuff that comes from ISAC. Legislative updates. I can't
Was that
remember
on
which
Friday
one.
legislative?
Yeah, I
It was
think it
last
was
Friday.
just Fridays.
Okay.
I can't remember which one, cause I get ISAC, ISACA, and I get the Board of
You're on.
Supervisors.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get all three of them, so I can't remember
What
which
we gonna
one. I'll have
compare
to
them to
look.
now with the head of the state patrol or what?
No, that it shall be, not that it may be.
So it keeps that shall, so it gives us
I
more
think it-
room to operate.
Yeah, I think, or am I thinking of it backwards?
No, shall, I thought shall was with the more.
Gives you the
loose.
option,
Yes.
gives you the
May,
flexibility.
have
May,
to.
you have to, shall. Yeah,
Well,
there was something in it that changed.
Well, that's
That
weird,
wasn't
too.
so
Well,
that
I
you had
can't-
to.
I can't imagine there's a county official in the state that's patted them on the back for the way they worded this stuff. I
Yeah,
mean, I got their intent, but boy, oh boy, did they clobber that with vagueness that made it a mess and created all
and
kinds
especially
of.
the positions they were making you compare to,
Yeah,
you know, positions that required certain levels of education or certain background or certain things, and that's not equivalent to every sheriff for every county, especially once you get below a certain population of county. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
not the
exactly
same
what you
thing, so.
yeah.
That's everything I had for the legislative update. I do have Region 12 on Thursday. I have 3 different back-to-back meetings for different council entities of Region 12. And I get a carpool with the newest member of the policy council, Region
Oh,
12.
good for you. I hope you're letting her drive.
Use your mileage.
It's being efficient
And
that
you'll be
way.
safe.
Comp boards, assessors, compliance, stormwater management. Yeah.
Did they say anything more about that stormwater management and the soil one that Dan mentioned at the end of our meeting last week?
Oh,
As far as the soil,
455.
yeah,
No,
concerning, it just said construction sites is, and I didn't know what exactly,
that was not brought up.
okay.
That would prohibit a county. from-
What exactly is a construction site? Is the pipeline a construction site?
Are they gonna be there tomorrow?
Oh,
Summit.
Jean insinuated that maybe they were, so I don't
Here you
know
go.
if she's had a chance to share the
The bill
date
would,
with them.
the bill would prohibit county from adopting or enforcing an ordinance relating to the preservation, compaction, placement, or depth of topsoil at a construction site that is more restrictive than federal requirements.
Right, just what's the definition of a construction site? I guess that's what I was wondering how.
Well, they just about made that vague enough. There could be
Right.
somebody out building a playhouse for their kids.
Right, right,
I can probably look
right.
at old stuff and find maybe Riley or Kylie or.
And I don't know what the federal restrictions are.
Kaylee and Riley are, they're usually the two that speak, and Kylie is the one that's the
Sabrina's kind
engineer.
of one of the newer.
Kylie,
I'm sorry.
Kaylee and Riley.
Didn't mean to interrupt. I was trying to direct them.
No, I guess that was, I was just saying, what's the definition
Yeah.
of a construction site?
So we have to ask the state on that.
Right, and what are the federal requirements? If they can't be more restrictive than the federal requirements, so what are the federal requirements? It'd be nice if they would state that in there. Because those, I guess.
Basically, anything that we're wanting to do with our Iowa State thing, they're trying to supersede that before we get it done. There's a lot of money floating around that building right now, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Wow, hello. Okay, I really don't have anything from last week. I didn't have any committee meetings. I had a few calls about the
I guess I did too about this.
Valuation.
Valuations. right.
and that's what spurred me to put that post on Facebook, and my calls went to zero shortly thereafter. So I mean, and I just wanted, to try to be clear and transparent as possible and kind of help us all out. I thought, I'll word this as best I can and try not to get us in trouble. Made my wife proofread it for me, so she's my editor. But
And to me, Ty, it still goes back to all the services we provide for the state that we keep just a small little fraction for doing at our cost.
Yeah.
We could lower our levies if we kept that in-house.
Yeah.
And you look at the treasure part, what is it, out of $100, we keep 5?
yeah,
Even if we could keep 50, all of a sudden, we naturally could lower our levies and improve that way. But we don't get to say to even keep it here.
Right, no, I mean, because I was curious of the same thing, it's hard to find out exactly on everything what percent we get and what percent the state gets. On marriage, licenses, on
anything.
anything, it's just because the state lists
Passport.
their income as fee income, and that's a big number.
You bet.
But I don't know where it comes from, because I guess I had somebody tell me that, who's an employee up at the hospital, that, the talk up there was that the increase in valuations is because the state wants to get to zero income tax. I said, well, actually, there is no correlation between the two, that the state doesn't get any revenue from income tax. That, so them, it doesn't matter to them what the valuations are, it's totally irrelevant.
I think the valuation formula, there's nothing changed. I mean, there's been legitimate reason why it went up.
Exactly.
I mean, people doing all them remodel projects during 2020 and subsequently even since. But the problem is during
Asking price for a house, I mean, it all added up.
But you also look at the simple fact that since 2020, what contractor isn't understaffed? So all these houses that could or should be getting built aren't getting built. So now we have less people need houses, values up, where supply and demand theory, then the value of the house goes up. So all those things, and that's just the residential side. It's the same on the business side. So if you start looking at all that, and then farm ground, I mean, you guys have had some really great years. So farm ground's value has increased, which in theory gives you a better, portfolio at home. Your values are, gives you a better equity line, which as long as inflation doesn't chase this table, the school boards, the city halls, and it isn't changing. I mean, just look at Paul's costs, for goodness sakes. I mean, we got, what, $500,000 more in fuel costs, If we don't have, our cash reserve, or our on-hand reserves, how do we pay for that? And this is the stuff that, you try to explain to, when people call. I don't think we're overtaxing at all. We just got so many things to deal with, and then when an unfunded mandates show up, you know, whether it's, and the back to blue thing, its intent was a fabulous idea that just needed a lot better definition on what we really were doing.
And honestly, I feel like we had done that even before back to blue. You rate, there was an 8% increase. I don't
We're
know,
trying.
you know, trying to get them where we can based on what revenue we have. The thing, Ty, and I just don't buy this, and I've heard this from a number of state legislators, that when I door knocked and campaigned, that so many people were just baffled by their taxes going up because of, they didn't understand the assessed values. And I said, what simpler system do we have? We have assessed values, we have a levy rate. You times it times that, and it comes out with what we get.
And
I mean, it's a
rise in
very simple
valuation
formula.
doesn't mean that their taxes are gonna go up.
Automatically, yes,
A
exactly.
rise in valuation, I mean, usually the levy rate goes down when the valuation goes up.
As long as we're not fighting inflation like we are.
Right, depending on expense, but I mean, cause that's the part, at least when I was on the school board, is that, you know, the school would try to promote that, hey, your rate went down, or any taxing entity about your levy rate went down, but the total taxes that they were still collecting went up, and it seems like that was always, you know, the paper always puts in what the levy was and compares it to the year before. They do usually show the total revenue that's coming in, but the people just see that rate, you know, it's the tax rate.
Yeah.
And so if it goes down, they, I think, perceive in their mind that, hey, well, my taxes went down. Well, not necessarily.
Yeah.
That's the amount
They
you're
get the
paying.
bill and then they're mad again.
Right, and I think that's complicated for everybody. I mean, it's like, what, the rate went down and you collected more taxes? How's that work?
Yeah.
Well, there's a story to it.
Yeah.
Right,
And it's not complicated once you sit at this table, but not everybody has the luxury of being able to sit at this table. So that, when they call, I like to try to explain it.
But when they see the valuations go up, they automatically perceive that their taxes.
That's gonna send their
Right.
taxes.
and it depends on what the state sets as a rollbacks too.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of
Excellent
it.
point too. Yeah.
But usually the last thing when I've had that phone call too, I said, as you're calling me because you're concerned about your taxes, I said, just, you know, when you get your tax bill, we're only responsible for,
Okay.
well,
30%.
Is that what it is? I was trying to
$14
find that.
a thousand, so, you know, between rural and
30 to 50 is usually
So-
what falls in for counties.
Okay, about
And I
30%.
said, and we've kept them levy rates, we try to keep those levy rates the same or lower annually, so.
Well, we didn't make a lot of friends this year in the courthouse back while we were doing budgets.
But they said, well, where's, you know, I said, out of that $40 or $45 you get, if you look at your whole tax bill, we're only responsible for about $14 of that. You know, that gets their attention, then, well, who gets the rest as well, your schools, your colleges, your hospital,
Townships.
townships,
Assessor,
everybody gets their chunk out of
Yep.
that, which we don't control.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all different boards that handle that.
because I tried to find that, I was on the assessor's website trying to see if there was a sample for the county as to where all the taxes went. I couldn't find that.
It should
I don't
be
know if
on
it's
on our website, the
On
county's,
the auditor's website.
well, the county's website. I'm
Okay.
not sure exactly. I'll
Okay.
find out where it's at.
Well, and just look going forward where they're trying to talk about making EMA their own taxing entity as well, you know, I mean, cause.
There'll be another one
assessors
drawn out
Their
of
own, and there's another one that'll be pulling out of it that's got a board. Now, hopefully that board will be frugal, but you know, in the end, we're just a pass through for all those. You know, on some of them boards, we have a vote. And we have a sizable vote with the cities and the school boards on like the assessors, but there's a lot of different places that I guess we're all kind of sitting in an echo chamber here, making sure we got our facts straight, but to help you, understand that, Dave's had it 4 years already, but I mean, making sure that you understand, because we've been inundated a little bit, but at least, that was my point with doing the post on the Facebook. I kind of did it without talking to anybody about it, but I thought that maybe everybody'd be okay if I didn't get too over committal or under committal. I mean, I just want
Oh,
to,
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I just wanted to just get something out there to kind of get everybody back off the cliff a little bit, you know? And, you know, I had one person that asked me, maybe you can help me with this, Madam Auditor, they said that we were in the top five in the state of the counties for our tax levy. I said, well, I'm pretty sure that's not right. But I said, I'm not gonna talk out of turn and say where we are for sure, because I can't remember. I mean, I've seen something before. I've looked it up before. It seemed to me like we were kind of in the middle of the pack, but you figure population wise, we're kind of in the middle of the pack. But you know, the counties that are taxing the most, which kind of perplexed me, are the ones that look like they have the most assets. You know, you like your Dallas and Polk counties and Johnson and some of them that are.
Some of them, like I said last week, are growing faster than they can,
Yeah, that's true.
you know,
Right.
the Dallas
Excellent.
counties, they're growing so fast, they're trying to build infrastructure and
They can't.
Yeah, I can't keep up.
they're taxing at such a high rate
That's a good
on
point.
bet to come that, well,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm sure there's probably tax abatements for new houses there too, so, you know, they're trying to
Oh, sure.
draw all this new houses in and want to provide infrastructure for them, so.
I wanna say either Dallas County or maybe it was the city of Adel. That had like a 6-year tax abatement
Really?
to draw.
That's a
I would
lot.
think you'd have to do a tax abatement.
What are you sure that wasn't down there? What's the one just south of
There's
Delaware?
a 10-year.
100%?
No, no, that's over.
Stand meter.
Wow.
Des Moines.
10 years, 100%.
Indianola?
What's the
The
other one?
first
down
5
there?
years is 100%.
There's Indianola, it's a little
Then it
further
scales
south, and it's one of the
down.
suburbs, mind you.
It's ridiculous.
Oh,
I'm
start
sorry,
with
it's
an N.
ridiculous.
That's what they just passed.
They've
City
been
of
growing like
like
gangbusters, and it was because they were doing things like that.
But now,
Especially with the debt load they have, they shouldn't be abating taxes like
Denison
that.
just passed a 5-year 100% and then an additional 5 years step.
Right,
So you have 10 years before they get the 100% of their taxes out
I'm
of
sure
it.
they're struggling to try to get some houses built for our demand for our
Oh,
plants.
I'm sure they are, but
I think that you,
they can't even fix streets in
Yeah.
Denison, so.
yeah, exactly.
different pot of money.
That's why I keep kind of shouting it out there to people that
Well, we
will
got some-
listen, is we gotta do more with the whole county.
They got
You know, I
taxes.
actually talked to Evan one day. I said, what if we went and find a developer that maybe wanted to build like by area and where taxes would be relatively cheap, but you still got a corporate limits of sort. And, you know, you did a 30 to 50 trailer court, 30 to 50 home trailer court with a nice little tornado shelter and shelter houses in the middle and stuff like that. And then maybe around one of the other close to Denison communities, at Deloitte, you did a double wide one like that, one that's right along 141 down there. That's been a beautiful little trailer, double wide trailer park community. I remember I was hauling cattle into Montfort when they were putting that up. It's a beautiful little thing, and it gives that step approach for people, you know, young family can go from this to this to this and move in, and I don't know, to me, that looks a lot more economical to build one of something like, I don't know. Evan and I were having a long talk about that one day. I mean, rather than doing these mega abatements that, like you said, we can't fix the road, can't build a road to that place, but we're gonna build houses there. But, you know, maybe you can find them developers. I mean, when you drive to Omaha or, you know, drive into this side of Ames, or, you know, heck, just look right there by Grimes. I mean,
I was down there last,
wow.
days,
Just-
they're moving mud around and getting ready to build more condos down
Oh,
there.
I tell you what, you know, I mean, them developers gotta be looking for some easier dirt to allocate, don't they? I mean, that's what we should be down there recruiting a developer or two. Them are some beautiful places too.
When I used to start going down Camp Dodge there in the 90s, there was nothing out there,
Yeah, just pasture and field.
nothing. There wasn't even
There
a
wasn't even
Beaver
a
Run
go-
golf
I was
course.
just
wasn't
getting ready
even
to
there.
say that, wasn't even the golf course. Yeah.
You know, it's just sprawling city.
Yeah, urban sprawl. But you know, them suburbs are kind of an important part of American
Mhm.
culture at this point. I don't know, what do you do to keep up in the gut when the state keeps,
Well,
one end they're putting noose around their throat, the other they're trying to suck it out of you.
That's when you like to see a partnership, you know, have some of these employers step up and play too.
Yep.
And,
and you may full well see that come about because they want employees.
right,
You either gotta pay up so they can afford houses or help them out.
didn't the coal companies try that years ago, like West Virginia? Company store,
Yeah.
company house,
Yeah, yeah, great
company
point.
doctor.
What was that song?
Yeah.
Sold my soul to the company.
The store, there you go.
That's the Ernie Ford.
That's him. Yeah, there
That
you
was
go.
pretty good.
Way to go, Cal. Talked us out of that quick, didn't you?
But I see it on the ag industry, there's some of these bigger farmers that are struggling to get the help, they're buying houses for the help.
Yeah.
They're putting up.
Oh,
help.
yeah.
They're giving them a vehicle to drive.
Yeah. Well, if you wanna get good help, you're gonna have to do a little
Have
bit
them
more.
provide benefits, and that was the thing when I was financing farmers is
Yes, ma'am.
their main competition was the people that they were giving money to, meaning the co-ops,
Packing houses.
the equipment companies, is that they would, those implement dealerships, they'd hire away the farmers' best help.
Right.
Because they were providing the benefits, they were providing paid vacations, they were not, providing, or it wasn't, oh my, we're working 18 hours a day in spring and fall, and then time off, it's more steady work week,
Right.
that sort of stuff.
I think that might have swung around now, because I know that one of the large farmers hired one of Glenn Vedder's best mechanics away.
Right. That was back in the 90s,
Yeah,
early 2000s.
you're right, though, everybody was moving.
Yeah.
Well, look at how
Farmers
many
weren't making the,
mechanics have gone out on their own
Yeah.
and said, I can make more
right,
money and be my own boss.
between here and Vale, there's one, used to work for Vedder, John Campbell.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just, we've been in farming a long time, high prices cure high prices, and, you just see that cycle of people enter the workforce that I can make more as a subcontractor or a mechanic, or, I enter those fields and till it levels off again.
Now we just need some of our schools to be teaching some of those skills
Right.
That would be
and promoting that,
promoting it.
main thing.
But when I was in high school, all we ever were told, college, 4-year degree, here's your chart, you're gonna make so much more money if you're in a 4, and I don't knock anybody who goes in 4 years, but it was never even brought to our attention about being a lineman or HVAC or anything, electrician, it was always geared to a
It was
4-year degree.
definitely a different time.
And then a lot of kids, went to college and racked up a huge, student loan debt and couldn't find a job
In their field.
in their field.
Well, that's what I kinda like about our,
So
using
now
our
they're back
farm
to
though.
doing one of those,
A guidance counselor is a huge part of the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got a lot of influence.
They got a lot of influence. Mine said if I didn't go to a 4-year college, I wouldn't amount to nothing.
yeah. Well, that's why I'm kinda glad that we're we're kinda trying to work on something with our farm and all that.
And at that time in the late 80s and 90s, that was probably somewhat of a sound advice, but
That's because we thought there was always gonna be people to do those things.
Right.
Now we find out that there's a lot of people don't wanna do that.
Good
there wasn't a shortage of plumbers.
Good conversation today, guys,
So they can
appreciate it.
raise their rate.
Yeah, that was it. Well, some of that was brought on by what regulations too, because anybody used to be plumbing, it didn't have to have any
Exactly.
certification.
Certified,
Good conversation today.
haven't had a leak in
We've got,
10
we've
years.
got, I've got
How's
one
that
up.
for certification?
Good. Good. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The projects, we'll kind of go through this. I got a long list of stuff. If we get through it all, that'd be kind of amazing. We'll give it a shot. The bridge, going well. If any of you have been over there, that project's going really well, everything. So,
Good there, south pier pilings are all poured already.
encasements on and
Yep, it's looking
we
good.
did have our landowner stop in and drop off all the rest of his paperwork.
Awesome.
I don't know if we had a little issue, so, I think he saw the benefit
Yeah.
finally, and so we got everything taken care of. So that's good news. The overlay project still, shooting for that, next couple of weeks, probably moving in, and the first thing they'll do is start milling, so gonna be a lot of construction in Crawford County this year.
Now, will we get all them millings?
No.
Or do they use that in their
So
mix?
those millings, Ty, are coming off of the pavement itself.
Mhm.
That's what they call RAP, recycled asphalt.
So they'll
product.
use that in their.
So they use that and put it back in the
Okay,
mix.
that's what I was curious
So,
about.
yeah. Now, when we're doing the shoulder widening and we take that out, then we keep that, because there's really no other reuse for the contractor for that, because it's got soil and stuff mixed in with it, so it makes really good stuff for us.
You know, before we do one of our next big projects for the roads, it'd be neat if you could reach out to that team over there at Iowa State that's got that that uses soy to make that new binding stuff in the asphalt that's supposed to give it flexibility that makes it last.
Oh, it's
So
kind of
don't
like,
get it
that's kind of like
brittle.
an emulsifier
Yeah,
that they use when they increase the wrap.
yeah,
And so as you put in they call version binder, which is the new binder, and then you have the existing binder that's in, so there's this bituminous material that's attached, it's gotten hard, but it's attached to that. So they heat it back up, liquefies it, and then they add that, they add that all together. So what happens is the higher percentage of wrap you get, the less flexible your pavement becomes. And so they've tried different, what they call emulsifiers that cause that existing binder to go into a liquid form and disperse within in the mix. And so again, we did a research, we've got it over on M64.
was that using this
just north of-
product from over at Iowa State? You
I don't
remember?
know, I don't think it was a soy-based product,
That
but
would-
it was an emulsifier.
Hey, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I just thought that'd be, before I forgot again,
Yeah,
just to check to see if that would be something you thought would benefit us in the long term,
well,
and if it wasn't gonna add a lot of cost.
anytime you can add recycled asphalt product, it's good,
Yeah,
but there's only so much of it around.
exactly.
You don't want to take 2 inches off just to get more of that, because you're paying them to take it off, and then you're paying them to remix it, and so contractors like it because of that reason. So
I just-
milling an inch off gives you a nice level playing, surface. to
But they
work.
claim that gives it a lot of life. That was that.
Yeah,
doctor's
I don't know. I think the
Well,
jury's
that's why I
maybe
said
still
if you
out
could
on
word
that.
it there.
Yeah, still out.
That was why I was just, if you'd check with them,
Yep.
that'd be great.
So all the great crew, bridge crew, roadside crew, all back at it. Grade crew, they're removing the trees down here at the dome. They're just about done. And so we're trying to decide, we're trying to go under the road. We'd like to go under the road with a pipe at Boyer Valley Road, and then bring all that drainage to the road area and take it right down to the river eventually, because there's no drainage along the railroad. If you look at the dome, there's no way to get anything out of there. So our water kind of pools in there. So we're either gonna create a basin back there or get it out. Trying to figure that all out.
Okay.
But then they're gonna go start on Yen Avenue. That little half mile, Larry Bodker's the only one that signed up on that road, so we're gonna take advantage of him allowing us to use his soil, because the road needs work on it, and we just will get it from him. So he's being very cooperative. In fact, all these trees from the stockpile and the ones from Dow City that we're gonna take down, we're gonna talk to you later, are all going out there. He's gonna allow us to use a burn hole and just put them all in there. It's a problem. It's a problem finding places to go with your trees.
Yeah.
Where do you go with all that stuff?
But all the county just piles them in the road ditch.
Some counties do. That's probably not a great proposition.
I don't think much of it,
No,
They burn them in eventually?
but sometimes they
they
don't.
haul them away, yeah. So,
Sometimes they've been there a long time.
yeah, but we don't really subscribe to that. I don't think it's a good idea myself, but.
I'm with you on that one.
But anyhow, Larry, if you see Larry, thank him, because he's allowed us,
Yeah.
it's kind of out, he's out here and it's about the same distance, and so we're taking these 4 big trees down in Dow City, and he said, yeah, bring them all out, burn them.
Nice.
So it's nice, it saved us a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm into that.
So,
My favorite term, save us money.
yeah, bridge crew,
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
bridge crew, yeah, they're on 120th there between Q and R. It's called the Hunter Bridge. It's an old pony truss, got a concrete deck on it. So this is the one I was talking to you about last week. We're just gonna take that whole thing out, leave the concrete abutment in, put each pile in, and stiffen that up and set new beams and keep the old abutment. So it shouldn't take too long. And once we get the old bridge out, a couple weeks, we should be right out of there. I think it'd be a great.
What'd you call that one?
Hunter.
Hunter.
It's called that's what the locals call it, because it's right next to, the Hunter family lives right next to it, so.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember that now.
and then, the roadside guy started back yesterday, so, we're gonna be seeding next week, probably this week.
This will work.
Yeah, it's a good time to seed.
Stuff you seeded last year sure looks nice. I just, because I drive by where Hank Southmeyer lives,
Yeah, right there by that pipe where we
Yeah,
replaced the
we put that
bridge.
culvert in.
Yeah,
That looks.
Do you remember
that's
last
the-
year?
That's the greenest thing
I know.
within 2 miles, it's right there.
That's good to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to tell Verdine that.
Okay.
I don't know if you met Verdine Evans or not. But he's pretty passionate about his seeding and they do a nice job. And so I know last summer when we seeded that, we used a ryegrass as kind of a nurse crop and that thing just exploded and looked awesome. So that's good to see. That's a nice project. Got rid of a crummy old bridge.
Yep.
So.
Dean's passionate about everything he does.
Yes, he is. So, okay, yeah. Anyhow, item 4, I sent this out to you over the weekend. And I changed a couple of things. I just said some cities, because I know the city of Denison doesn't have option sales tax, but I don't know about the rest of the cities in the county in the resolution. I just don't know, but I said some cities.
Do they?
They all
This
do.
covers.
This should cover it, so I changed that, and then I took out the strong support for I will, because I just didn't know, I wasn't getting, we just are silent to it, I guess we don't have to say anything. But 3/8%, is designated for
If somebody asks you, you can
Those-
support it or.
conservation related measures. It is a good program, I just, fundamentally, just as quickly as I can summarize this, as I understand it, is that basically they're trying to enact a statewide sales tax and then eventually phase out the local option sales tax. Now, there's the discussion about a backfill for counties who have approved it. And the concern is will that continue?
In the past, it hasn't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so that's
Commercial backfill is a
yeah.
big thing we
Yeah.
thought. So,
And that's the
That's our
gist
big
of the
concern.
resolution, is that the resolution basically speaks to the fact that we're okay the way we are.
And our voters voted for this.
Well, exactly, that's the
Yeah.
part that just perturbs me.
Yeah.
Is that-
Charter Oak just had theirs on the general election for the school.
A lot of them have.
Reapprove it again for another 10 years.
Right,
Yeah.
well, the school here just did that.
Yeah, and now the state and their infinite wisdom says, boy,
Yeah.
we're gonna take that money.
So, all we can do is,
And we'll
manage
divvy it out.
better. We'll manage it better.
yeah, it just doesn't seem to be any impetus. There's no one pushing that I'm not sure where that's coming from.
So you're seeking a motion to approve that we stand opposed to this new the 550, the Senate 550 that they've
So you
proposed.
changed the resolution you sent out.
What I did, I changed it from
Maybe
just
I
cities
just put
to
a
some
number on it.
cities.
Couple word changes.
And then I took out the I will, strong support statement here. And then there was another little oopsie in there.
There was a power sheet.
So that I took out. And so this is basically the same one that she County passed.
Yeah.
And this is being considered by county boards across the state.
I mean, I will move to approve the resolution opposing Senate File 550.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Has Jean joined us yet? Just thought I'd ask that since we started voting here. She doesn't appear to be with us yet. There's been a motion by Mr. Dozark, second by Mr. Schultz. I give you enough time. You're probably done them a week ago.
Roll call.
Hi,
Okay,
I am here.
hey, gotcha.
I'm
So
here.
roll call. Since I got you right away, it's a roll call vote. Do you vote in favor? Say aye.
I,
Mr. Mulbauer votes aye. Mr. Dozark.
Aye.
Mr. Schultz. The chair votes aye. Resolution carries.
hi, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
yep, we can hear you.
Okay, the next item is the rental agreement with Inroads LLC, and we discussed this, this is the rental of the Susquehanna yard. I would have a motion to approve that.
second,
35,000 for they expect to be out of there by sometime in July, so I don't think it'll be too long.
Perfect.
It's 35. What'd you say it was?
35,000.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the rental agreement with Inroads LLC for the rental of the secondary roads maintenance yard for an asphalt plant. Are you getting all that, Gene?
Yes,
Oh,
I'll
is there
second that.
already been we've got a motion in a second. I'm just making sure you're hearing everything all right. Was there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Chair votes aye, motion carries. There's just a little delay. You got it. Okay,
Okay, next item is it's a secondary road department IDOT budget and 5-year program. So if you understand, like you probably not familiar, but so I have to do our auditor's budget, which is the budget that I presented to you guys. And then I have to do what's called a DOT budget. So then I take all of those items and I break them down into certain cost codes. So one is administrative, there's construction, administrative, maintenance, and then all of the things that support maintenance. Those are the 4 key categories. So they're pretty self-explanatory. So construction is construction projects, okay, that pass through the local budget. Administration is the engineering administration. The maintenance is biggest item. It's the ground. It's all the things that we spend, buying riprap, buying beans, buying pipe, all those things. And then the support is the new equipment, the buildings, the fuel. Those are all the things that it takes to do the maintenance. So those are the 4 key categories. So then I've got to break those items down, and I've got to report. I've got to put a budget together that shows those. So I have to break down the claims, the payroll, the insurance, and all that into those 4 categories, and then submit that budget. So that's what the budget is. It's the exact same numbers as I presented to you guys. And then the program, so we're also required to do a 5-year program. And so I got that. Unfortunately, the maps that came out, that's great. So I printed out on the back, I just kind of quickly did a little map showing blue and red. So, and what I showed on there, and if you guys, I'm gonna get you a better map. Normally this would have printed out real nice, would have had one for each year, and I can't get it to do it for some reason.
Did you leave? No, you already left one on Gene's desk.
Essentially, so we're gonna do a lot more work than what's shown on this program because of the day labor work.
You had this in our Farm Bureau book.
I did, yeah. So basically,
we already-
it's the same thing you saw on the Farm Bureau, exact same thing.
Well,
Okay, and so you've got those maps. Again, I don't program everything. If anybody's got any specific questions about a project. So, as far as construction next year, we're gonna do the bridge up on E16. That's the one we're in the midst of the design on, so we got some Iron Canyons funding for. And if the funding allows, I'd like to do SFU in that Yellow Smoke Park.
I'm gonna be asked about S a lot, and being in that
Yeah,
neck of the woods.
yeah.
What year do you think you'd started if? the
I
funds
currently
were-
got it 24 days. I'm optimistic.
That's a 3-mile stretch.
It's
Yeah.
I'm kind of cautious, but everything's going at a higher price. So it may have to get bumped to 2025. But we're gonna do that project. It's just kind of where we can fund it. It'll be the next paving
The
project.
second question I always get when I'm down there, what's it gonna cost per mile? Roughly.
Well, if I had to put a number on it right now, I'd say $1 million.
That's what I thought we decided to
And that's
ask.
just
And that
a
would be
real,
that'd be
that's
pavement or
highway.
asphalt?
that'd be concrete.
it's gonna be concrete
Or
pavement,
concrete.
just like we did going down to Manila on E50.
What do we do, 8 inches?
8 inches.
Yeah.
Then we do a stabilized subgrade,
Mhm.
12-inch stabilized subgrade.
Nelson's Park Road.
Nelson Park
Yeah.
Road, same thing.
Beautiful.
And those
very
roads
good
hold up extremely well. And so that's kind of the
Test
plan.
project, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so,
Can I ask you a question quick? Are we wanting all 4 of the
all of
other?
them, yeah, I think everybody should sign that.
Gene,
Yeah.
there's a paper here, if you can stop by Paul's and sign when you get back today.
Yes, I will do that. I'm on my way.
Thank you, ma'am.
Make a motion to approve the secondary road department, Iowa Department of Transportation budget and 5-year program. Fiscal year ending June 30th of 2024.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second, motion by Mr. Schultz, second by Mr. Dozark. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Okay, so item 7, we've got the SS4A, that's Safe Streets for All. And so you have to have an updated local road safety plan. So we're done, we've got that done. We moved forward on that. And so they just sent out what's called a Notice of Funding Opportunity. They call them NOFOs from the federal government. And so we were thinking that was going to extend till September sometime, because that's what they did last year. But they're going to require, I think it's by early July now, you have to have the application submitted. So what I want to do is I want to submit for L51 all the way from E16 down to Highway 37. Okay, there's about 22 miles there. I think we have a really good shot at this grant. And the reason I say that is that they're identified and there's certain segments of that. Not all the segments rank as high as the others. And it's a function of what you've had for historic crashes. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So like the segment from Highway 37 south, or from Highway 37 north to Charter Oak, the south half of that rate's pretty high, ranks like a 9 or a 10. The next section ranks a 4. Same thing for L51 going north from 141 to E16. Part of that ranks really high and the other part doesn't. But you can't really, as a practical matter, just stop the project.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be the argument that we try to make. So, you know, we're looking at the potential for possibly up to $5 million in safety grant funds. And so the focus here is on safety projects. And we've got a history of doing that. We did E16 was the first one where we paved the shoulders. We did rumble strips. We did the safety edge. We did the same thing on Donna Reed. Just 2 years ago, we did the pavement outside of Dow City. So, you know, we've got a track record of doing those. Those are all identified in the local road safety program too. So we've also got a history and a track record of identifying and fixing. You know, we identified them in the plan, but then we've taken action to address those. So I think that helps us. You know, heavy focus on safety, and a big part of Crawford County is in a historically disadvantaged, you know, portion of the state.
Do we gotta put
And
rumble
so
strips on the zippers then too?
We're probably going to have to, Ty, and that's part of it. So I have a proposal from this Kimberly Horn to help us to put the grant together. Fayette County got almost $10 million last year. The only county in the state of Iowa that got it. So you're competing nationally. So this isn't like us just putting a grant into the state or a Hungry Canyons grant. They go into some elaborate narratives, and I'll just briefly here talk about some of the 4 key areas. And this is where, you know, I think we're gonna be looking for some assistance in the grant writing portion of this. So in the narrative, so there's 3 key areas. There's one, which is kind of the overall management of it. And then there's the part where you do the estimates and the you know, some of the plans, and we can do that part. Okay. And then the third part is this, the support, the grant application support, which is filling out all the forms, making sure all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted. And then there's the narrative, and the narrative talks with 4 key areas: safety impact, equity, engagement, collaboration, effective practices and strategies, climate change, and sustainability. Okay, so there are probably other people that are really good at this. And so I'm gonna talk some more with this Kimberly Horn. They're the ones that developed the local road safety plan for us. And they've done a number of those in the state. They actually helped Fayette County last year put theirs together.
Okay.
So their initial proposals for in that $30,000 range. Okay. If we take the part out, the middle part that we could do in-house, that takes about 10,000 out of that. So we'd be down in that $20,000 to $22,000 range. But I want you to think about it, you know, and I just think I got a good feeling about this. I want to make sure that when we do it right, and that we have the right, you know, that we're, you know, you have to write.
Boy, but you know, you look at the improvement to doing something almost the same did to the Button Road pavement.
That's like an interstate.
Oh my gosh, compared to what it was.
And that's what it looked like. And you know, Kyle, I mean, you know, the L51 North is 20 foot wide, L51 is 20, they're 20 foot wide pavements.
Yeah.
And so I think we got a good shot at it now. Again, it's a national.
Yeah.
They don't award like per state, or it's just national competition. One state can get
It
5.
is. It
One state
is.
can get 0.
And And I don't know the details of that, Craig, so I can't really speak to whether they're looking at, allocating
But will this
to rural
Kimberly know?
states or to urban states. I don't know. But
She'll have a better idea how to orient this grant though,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, Kimberly Horn's the name of the company. So
Okay.
the the person I'm dealing with is Devin Moore. He's the person that worked on our local road safety program. So
Okay,
I think it's a good, I want you to think about it,
I
but
think it's a
we'll,
positive investment.
I think it is, yeah. There's no guarantees. It's kind of like the raise grant, we're gonna spend $20,000 to $24,000 on putting that together. We hired, collectively 9 counties hired consultant to put that together. We spent probably $250,000 collectively, I mean, total. But there's a lot of money riding on it too. That's a $25 million grant, so.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul, you've been very successful at going after funds
Thank you.
and helping our county out that way.
You've done,
The whole key is that you have to leverage your local resources and bring additional dollars in, and that all helps out. So,
Yeah,
so.
I like that idea.
I do too.
So that's kind of where we're at with that. They just came out with a NOFO. I'd like to just get it done and get it in.
Boy, that's a
We got
lot of
that.
extra money to do a project we already had in the works. I mean, that helps pay for it from an outside source. This is something we've been sitting here talking about in recent weeks. And this is.
And we've been working on developing the plans so that essentially if we get the money, our plans are gonna be done. Because we had to do the plans in order to get a decent cost estimate. So we just said, let's just get them done.
Yeah,
So the plans are basically done.
we're shovel ready.
Yeah, we're ready. So.
So, good job.
So we'll point that out as well, in there. The item I work fleet management software. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long, long time, and I just drug my feet because of the cost. But we've got millions of dollars worth of equipment. And I really need a system. We're gonna try to develop it ourselves. We're gonna try to work with the service bureau and try to develop it, but I just can't get there. And so I talked to, and I had all the foremen come in, the guys down the shop mechanics, and so it's a system. Basically, you manage, it's a complete detailed inventory. So you have your assets, their inventory, and we have all that right now. We have it all done, but it's done with spreadsheets. We need to get it over to a database. To Chuck's credit, he took us from pencils and papers to put us in spreadsheets. When we got spreadsheets, there's a lot of different spreadsheets you got to update each time you have a piece of equipment that moves. So if you have a database program and a true fleet management program, it'll take care of a lot of that stuff, and you can generate reports a lot like Tyler. I mean, you have all the information in there. The mechanics could sit down and they could input information. So the initial cost is $8,500 to get set up, which I don't think is too bad.
No.
It's the annual $5,000 maintenance fee you have. It's costly. However, Alex will sit down there and he inputs data sheets. We just got to get away from pencil and paper and get more electronically. And he'll sit there and he'll take all these fuel sheets and he inputs them. That takes time too. So it takes employee time to do that. So it isn't, you have to kind of weigh in those costs versus having a system where it's put in at the point of delivery. The guy that puts the fuel in the motor grader in Dow City puts that into the system. So
Well, the
it's
system
already
show you analytics at the end of the year if you want to. So how much fuel I use this year versus last year.
there. All
or
kinds of that stuff.
everything,
Yeah. So I haven't committed to that yet either, but I'm thinking it's really
Is
something we should do.
That would be specific to secondary roads, or can the sheriff's department do that? Would it be all included in that 8,500?
We certainly could.
We could get more bang out of the buck.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have, I don't know what they have for
That's a great idea. Yeah, and conservation.
Conservation, sheriff
Yeah.
department, secondary
I mean,
roads,
it's like
even put individual
pulling your
vehicles.
resources, so.
Mhm.
Exactly.
It's the countywide resources and you could have, yeah.
I like that.
I like that idea a lot.
Well, let's.
Especially when you
maybe
can
just
turn
keep
in a
the
report
discussion
to us
going.
that gives
I don't have
every
to commit to
vehicle.
anything,
Right.
yet, but the guys were really impressed. All the foremen and Andy and Alex, they said, this has everything I want it to do.
That $5,000 a year maintenance fee, but it might get that kickback and the salary to a certain extent that Alex ain't sitting there inputting data as much and got him doing something else.
And then, we'll have to have some sort of a tablet or a PC or something at each location, but, we're gonna try to integrate the new timekeeping. And I think we're gonna have to have those type of things anyhow. So I think we just kind of tie this all together somehow in the next 12 months.
Is there any piece of it, Paul, that helps, like, let's say, with our maintainers, where mapping of what they did day to day, or like
This,
equipment, trucks, where you can look and just know where each piece is every day?
this doesn't do that.
From tracking.
Okay, now Verizon has a system that does that, but again, that comes at a cost.
And
You know, I've always kind of drug my feet because
Right.
I just trust that the guys are out there doing what they're supposed
I've
to be
been
doing.
pricing those for my trucks and trailers and man, it's brutally expensive.
Yeah,
And, you know, I think about the coloring books and how they map, but yet, you know,
I want to get away from that too, Dave.
right, you know what I mean, and
But at the end of the day, I'm extremely conservative
Yeah.
and I gotta see a return. I think on the fleet management software, I can see a return on my investment pretty good, you know, but on that,
Boy, and when you
I
can
I didn't know if that was a part of it or not.
no. it
you
is
can
not.
track fuel and oil usage and stuff like that on a piece of equipment, that can tell you got a problem.
And we already do that. Okay, we just, this is a more eloquent system. Okay.
It's gonna be a
We
little bit
track
more.
all of that stuff, but it's just time consuming because you have to enter it all into spreadsheets and then you have to, you know, the
Well, we-
database is a lot more eloquent system.
Well, it
Same
doesn't
thing
hurt
with
to
that.
come into the 21st century.
Yeah, so, the foreman's position, we selected 3 individuals from 12 applicants. And I'm kind of doing individual interviews with them. I'm just getting them in the vehicle, driving around for a couple hours talking, and then on Friday, the foreman and myself, then we're gonna sit down with the 3 and we're gonna pick one. So,
Okay.
and move forward on that.
Excellent.
As far as the part-time, I got a position advertised, and we've already got some applications, so that's good.
Good.
The tree removal in Dow City, you know, we took over those 9 or 10 blocks last year, and of course, right away, there's trees that have been there for 50 years that are
We knew that.
yeah, it's pretty much, it is what it is, but anyhow, we're gonna take them down. I got a price from Russ's Tree Service, we got the certificate of insurance, Thursday morning, we're shutting down the streets, we're gonna let everybody know, all the, you know, the cocktails, and do a good job of kind of letting everybody know. We're gonna close those 2 blocks down, he's gonna take the trees down, we're gonna load them up and haul them away to
pit.
Supervisors. So hopefully by noon, those 4 trees are gone. That little old lady down there will be happy. She called me 4 times. I told her last time, I said, gee, you don't have to call me anymore. I told you this morning I was gonna take the trees down. My word's good. You don't have to call anymore. We'll take the trees down. But she is concerned about them. Nice lady. So, item 11, the 12% overload. There's a Senate File 527 that's, you know, that's being considered right now, and as I understand it, again, you know, I don't know all the specific details. But as I mentioned to you guys in the past, you know, they came out with this, really didn't offer any opportunity for the county engineering community or the board for that matter, the boards to weigh in on this. We've just taken a position where we've opted out. We've not allowed it on any of our roads. Some counties have opted in for segments, and those segments are disconnected. So there's this problem with, you know, connectivity, which we knew was gonna happen. And so now the legislation is speaking to that, saying that you gotta have connected routes, and at the end of the day, the wording is such that they're basically gonna require that we opt in on everything. And so,
But didn't we say that from the start, that the state's gonna step in?
we did,
You did, Dave.
we did. And so, you know, the disappointing thing for me is that when I read, you know, things about, you know, as we talked this morning, the valuation being a local spending issue when you have, you know, hyperinflation that we're dealing with. So we're naturally going to spend more dollars. It's just going to happen because everything costs more. But then on the same hand, you've got a legislature that's forcing heavier loads upon the local roadways that is naturally going to result in
Tree standing.
increased cost and increased maintenance. I mean, you can't continue to put more weight on these systems and not expect it to cost more. You know, it's gonna cost more.
Spring is what I'm really worried about.
And
It's gonna
so,
destroy it.
so if you have an opportunity.
And the state still bans it on their interstates.
No, it's
That's a federal
the national highway system routes are limited to 80,000 pounds. And so,
Like finally listening.
You know, and so and you guys saw the gentleman that submitted, you know, that's an industry person, you know, fairly large, said, we don't need this. We don't need the 96,000 pounds carrying, you know, those trucks now carry 107,000 pounds. So anyhow,
Yeah, he's gonna.
it's gonna happen unless we really dig our heels in and do something, but it's not gonna come for free.
You know where I
It's
wanna go.
Yeah,
know. So,
There's gotta be a safety factor there as well,
yeah, it is.
you know?
It's gonna be tough I'm worried about our bridges too. I know I've been trucker, so I know what we've gotta do to get through these gravel roads in the spring, and we're gonna hit them bridge, man, that's gonna
Sad
be.
thing is, though, we fought it in the past, like with the 7-axle or 8-axle dump trucks and.
No, I think we just need to fight it at a different angle,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do.
get them right in the throat.
Get some attention to it.
Well, they complain about how much we spend, but then, you know, the maintenance on the roads costs more because you're
Right.
requiring us to accept heavier weights.
Yeah.
How does that all work out? I don't, it doesn't make sense.
Don't add it.
Right hand, left hand, what's doing?
So, the city of Denison, the bridge replacement, I'm gonna wrap up here quick. So I've reached out to the city and, you know, we submitted the raise grant application, and if we, you know, when you're working with the railroad, things take time. And they're also expensive now, because the railroad doesn't do anything, for free, so in order for us to start moving forward with them, they want someone to enter into what's called a PE, which is a project evaluation agreement. And it's estimated to cost $50,000, so this is basically the UP saying, hey, we're hiring a third-party group they're gonna manage this project for us, because we're in the business of shipping product. We want somebody else, we're hiring somebody else to deal with that, and by the way, you're gonna pay for it. So that's in the nutshell what's happening there. So we need to get the city together, we need to all get together and hammer out an agreement, whether we get the raise grant or we don't. Do they want us to continue to move forward on the project? How do
It's
we
still
want?
the city's project.
It's their bridge,
Yeah.
but it's on our market extension.
Yeah.
So I think there's a need for us to collaborate.
Yeah.
We just gotta decide how that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I've talked to Brad and Greg Miller about it, and I think we need to move forward and get that hammered out.
I agree.
The last thing is, when we were down looking at the shop in Manila, acquiring this little triangle, and Pat Woosterweld said that they would be interested in selling it. I don't have any real, you know, purpose for it right now, other than it'd be a great place to stack trees.
Right.
But there's always that need, and it's really kind of an odd shape there for them. It doesn't really do them any good. I'd like to maybe get a board member or two and talk to them and see what they'd be willing to sell it
You're
to us
looking
for.
at the slash area.
The hatched
Where all the
area.
trees are.
Yeah, and so, well, actually, that's a little creek there, and they're kind of shadowing over Ty, so that maybe
Okay, I see.
the trees are
I
there, but they
remember
just kind of
that.
shadow. But anyhow, you know, if we have like when we did our project, the concrete paving project, and we got another one coming up.
Yeah,
Okay, be nice to own that and just
Use
have
it.
that as a spot.
yeah,
Yeah, so
excellent.
Who's there? Who's got that?
that's the city, that's the hatched area,
That's
okay?
where, okay. then
Here's
this
the
is-
area, the hatched area is the area that we're considering purchasing from the city.
The blue and that is owned by the city?
The blue is ours.
Is
The
ours.
blue is ours. I had a hard time.
It says Crawford County next to that.
Yeah, all of that's ours. The
All of
blue,
it.
the blue and everything off to the right is ours. The only thing that we're looking at purchasing is the hatched area
Okay,
to the
makes
west.
sense.
Okay, and we just tie it all together, and then,
Yeah.
you know, if we got, say, a 3-mile paving project in a couple of years.
How, if you wanna have me meet you, if you want, right there.
Yeah,
Just let me
Dave,
know.
we'll just, let's just do that. Is that all right? Dave and I just.
Yeah.
That'd be fine. You know,
Yep.
see what we can
You know,
work out.
let me know when you
Then
want.
I have a couple of forms for you to sign tonight before you get out of here.
Okay,
So it's-
don't let me get out the front door.
Sorry it took so long. Lot of stuff.
Okay,
Thanks, Paul.
let's move on here. Thanks, Paul. Quit taking vacations. You got too much work when you get back. 10:15 National Public Health Week proclamation.
Sure.
Carol, would you please come forward?
Yeah, sure.
Morning, Cheryl.
Good morning. I think you guys got a copy of it, don't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So
That's in the folder.
I'm not gonna read it. You guys can read it. So just to let you guys know that this week is the National Public Health Week, and if you guys wanna do the proclamation, and then there's places on there for you to sign.
Welcome.
Yeah. There's a lot of whereases on here.
Yeah, there is a lot of
We
whereases,
should bring a bunch of school kids.
right? Cause I did last
Right,
week, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Pull them together and then. just
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do it together, but.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
okay. Whereas the week of April 3rd through the 9th, 2023 is National Public Health Week. And the theme is centering and celebrating cultures and health. And whereas since 1995, the American Public Health Association, through its sponsorship of National Public Health Week, has educated the public, policymakers, and public health professionals about the issues important to improving public health. And whereas US life expectancy dropped from 2014 to 2017, in the longest sustained decline since the Great Recession, and only in 2018 began to increase again. US life expectancy then dropped again in 2020 by a full year, which I should probably be dying pretty quick, which is the largest drop of life expectancy
No, it's not in there.
in 1943. And whereas there is a significant difference in the health status such as obesity, poor mental health, drug use among people living in rural areas compared to people living in urban areas, this variance increases because rural residents are often more likely to face social determinants that negatively impact health, such as poverty, transportation barriers, and a lack of economic opportunity. And whereas racial and ethnic minority populations continue to experience disparities in the burden of illness and death. And whereas women die from pregnancy-related complications in the US at a higher rate than in many developed countries. And an estimated 60% of maternal deaths in the US are preventable. And whereas public health professionals help communities prevent, prepare, and withstand and recover from the impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks such as COVID-19 pandemic, measles, natural disaster, and disasters caused by human activity. And whereas public health professionals collaborate with partners outside of the health sector, including planners, transportation, education, and private businesses, recognizing that other sectors can influence health outcomes. And whereas public health action, together with scientific and technological advances, has played a major role in reducing and in some cases eliminating the spread of infectious disease and in establishing today's disease surveillance and control systems. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic is illuminated and exacerbated racial inequities, and growing number of local, state, and public health leaders have declared racism a public health crisis. And I'm not done.
One more.
And whereas efforts to adequately support public health and the prevention of disease and injury can continue to transform a health system focused on treating illness into a health system focused on preventing disease and injury and promoting wellness. Now, therefore, we, the Crawford County Board of, we're through all the whereas. We, therefore, the Crawford County Board of Supervisors, by virtue of authority vested in us by the laws of Crawford County, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the week of April 3rd through 9th, 2023 as National Public Health Week 2023. And call upon the people of Crawford County to observe this week by helping our families, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and leaders to better understand the value of public health and supporting great opportunities that enable us to make our communities and world more equitable, safe, health, and just places.
Woo.
Boy,
You
didn't
need a drink.
yeah, I do really.
We all do.
Good job.
I'm just going after water this time.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr.
I will make
Mulbauer.
the motion to approve the National Public Health Week proclamation.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Mulbauer, second by Mr. Dozark. All in favor, state so by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion, or I guess motion carries. Nobody here to vote nay.
Nope.
Right.
All right,
Alright.
well, thank you.
Signature block on there for
Oh,
everybody to sign.
everybody sign.
Everybody's on, yeah.
We need to call it.
Can I scan that over to
Yes,
you guys?
yes, that's
You know what,
fine.
I'd like to bring up that Crawford County is actually one of the more, on public health, we're on the lower end of the scale in the state. So this is kind of a critical thing to take note of in Crawford County. We've been working or talking with the hospital, and obviously public health. We want to do things to improve that,
what
you
do you
know.
mean tie by lower end?
Well, we're in the bottom of the, we're not healthy out there. No,
How do you constitute?
well, our
What
health,
determines that?
well, there was a survey done. Do you have the
Because of our
details
I
of
poverty
don't
it?
have
level
the
or what?
details, yeah.
Probably
It's probably,
poverty
it's
or-
our ethnic,
Aging population.
yeah,
Aging
population
population.
and our
Don't
ethnic
have a-
backgrounds,
Yeah, and
Don't
in
have a lot
our
of
workforce, and
offset some of
workforce,
that.
yep.
we have,
Greater need for public health.
Greater
so it's just to bring awareness to that. I mean, this is an important thing for Crawford County.
Yeah, it is true, so.
Okay, we gotta,
Sign your life away.
You're
I'll
welcome.
get it to you guys.
Yeah, that'd be
Thank
great if
you.
you
yeah,
could
cause
scan it.
Gene, we got another paper at the auditor's office for you to come sign when you get
Thank
to
you,
town.
guys.
I'm Cheryl.
Yeah,
We
bye-bye.
got this. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you. In Dow City.
Gosh, you got one. All right, next on the agenda,
Um,
discussion with Kim Larson and Mike Parda on the ARPA funds for the Imagination Station. You guys would like to come forward? Don't be bashful.
Oh, no.
I'm Kim Larson, I'm the
Please pull
director.
a chair up if you
Yeah,
like.
you can send Jean, sure, she ain't here.
She's good at sharing.
Kim Larson, the Director of Children's Imagination Station, and I asked Mike Pardun to join me because he's the president of the 2080 board that oversees the building ownership, where we rent part of the building from. I heard through the rumor mill that you guys at your last meeting voted to approve the $25,000 request for Little Hawks in Manila, and then also Under the Sun in Schleswig, and you denied our request. I just would respectfully like to request that you explain your reasoning for that decision when we have faithfully served the Crawford County community since 2002.
Okay. Would anybody like to start the discussion?
I can start it. It was nothing, we never denied it, we just didn't take any action on it. But we've always, my point was that we've been part of the 2080 agreement for, Mike, do you know how many years that's existed already?
Craig was probably on the original school board when it probably went in. It's been over 20 years
Over
now.
20 years, yes.
20 years, so my point and my thought was we contribute annually to the operation of that. And so we were looking at extending a one-time thing to the other two childcare centers in the county. And we figured our annual line item, budget item to help fund that 2080 agreement was probably a fair trade, because we won't give them any money next year. I mean, we're just, it was a one-time deal. That's where we were at. But since then, I was educated that the 2080 agreement is just the building.
Yeah.
But then I would also argue that if the Imagination Station had to go rent a bill, it's still, the funding still helps the Imagination Station operate.
Yeah, Kim just asked me along in case there were any questions. I know the supervisors had various representatives on there. I've just been on there now for quite a while,
Yeah.
19 years, I guess. So I suppose long in the tooth. But so the 2080, the three entities, as you're well aware, you're one of the three, owns the facility. The facility is paid for. And one of our leasers in the building is actually the Imagination Station. And so they lease they pay monthly rent around $2,100, somewhere in that vicinity. Don't quote me exactly, but that's pretty close. So they actually rent the facility from us on a monthly basis, as does the Head Start. Then the annual fee, which I think maybe, Greg, correct me, but I think it was somewhere around $8,000, maybe was the original commitment by each of the entities way back 20+ years ago, testing your memory. And now it's, I think we've amended it twice, so I believe it's 13,000 is where we're currently at, that we pay annually to take care of the facility in essence. Most recently we paid for a roof to put on the facility as an example, out of those proceeds. And so really the only piece of that annual donation that goes to the operation of that is really, I'm gonna say, you could maybe argue $4,000. So as a 2080, we pay twice a year, $2,000 to the Imagination Station for Kim to kind of oversee our property, if you want to say that. So,
Okay.
So she makes sure the bills get in. If something's broken, she contacts on our behalf. And so we contribute that twice a year. That's what we pay, I guess, into that. Other than that, the rest of that money really just goes to the building itself. So the operation of the daycare is all the Imagination Station. We don't have any overseeing of that, and they do pay rent back on the facility, which we provide them. So,
My one thing to ask you, I guess, on that is, but can you say the daycare still, even though they pay the 2,000, but if it was a private business, private lander owning that building, and they had the cost of upgrades and maintenance and all the things throughout the years, it would reflect in their lease price.
yeah, and we have up their lease price, I think twice in my time. And yeah, we haven't looked at it now in a while again. To see
And
what that
I guess,
might look like. So
what's the long-term plan? I know this happened a long time ago, to over 20 years ago. That, why, I mean, yes, why is accounting, I mean, we're looking at cutting budgets, we're looking at less revenue, we're looking at, why are we staying in the 2080 agreement?
you'd have to ask that of the county, I guess. Yeah. That the school could ask the same questions. City could probably ask. I mean, school hasn't, we don't have a program in there at all. From that standpoint, we were just one of the original 3 entities. I assume at that time, and I can only assume I wasn't a part of it, was there must have been a need for daycare.
I think
The
that's
3 public
exactly the
entities
reason.
got together.
We saw a need for daycare, and the
From an
county saw
economic
it, the city
standpoint.
saw it, the school saw it. And so they needed a location, we purchased the
Can't get
building, and that's why it was formed back then. I think then that has to beg the question, I guess, is there still a need moving forward? And if we think that there is, then we stay together and keep funding it. If the 3 entities don't think there's a need anymore, then.
And same thing, I mean, we're a county, so we had to look at the needs for all of the county. And, what we do for one, we have to kind of do for the other. Which, should we open up a 2080 agreement for Schleswig or Manila to help own the building? I don't know, I'm just, you gotta keep.
I have
it
no idea how
consistent.
the other 2 are funded,
And-
so I can't speak to that. Yeah. Kim just invited me along to make sure that.
We're not picking on anybody.
That they had, that you guys all had a good understanding of the 2080 and how it functioned, and that they're just a leaser up in the facility from a daycare. So I suppose it depends how you look at that. As far as their operation, really don't receive any of those funds to operate it. The facility, you could argue, but they pay to be a part of that. So they pay rent to the facility. We just happen to be the owners.
I mean, I'm the only one, I guess, that voted no, and I guess, because I just saw the things as far as the 2080 and the ARPA funds. And the ARPA funds are supposed to be used for, specific things, and certainly health and well-being of the community is part of that. And each of these requests went towards that, so that's why I guess I voted no. I just thought that providing the same thing, and I think this was specifically for playground materials, and so that would be something to help out the health of young children. And so and I think it still would. I think, I mean, that's up to us as a board, but I guess I just want to give my rationale as to why I voted no last week.
I'd like to just bring up some of the other aspects of what we discussed, and obviously our ARPA funds aren't unlimited.
Right.
And we really, we do know that some of the other communities were struggling with childcare facilities. And we didn't know what we'd have on the horizon. And we were kind of thinking that maybe if we kept some of that back in case, Dow City, Charter Oak, West Side, Kyron, these are all the ones that I can think of, the communities that I don't know for sure where they stand. but I do know that there was a couple of them that were struggling with daycare issues. And so that was part of our rationale as well, because obviously there's a limited budget in that. And, you know, we wanted to make sure that we were looking out for our smaller communities. And the other thing that got brought up a lot, or got brought up last week, was that these other two have done amazing fundraising for themselves. And I mean, we were really impressed with how well they've done to create their daycare centers. And not to say that nothing was done that way. And nobody was doing this because they were being spiteful towards the Denison community. I mean, we're just trying to consider where our dollars needed to be spent and, you know, what the immediate need. And literally, the Imagination Station hadn't been part of the conversation to any great degree until last week. So, I mean, we had to wrap our minds around that, and having you guys come present some. I mean, they've all been, both of those communities have been here and presented their cases, you know, on why they would need this extra funding. So we're just trying to be responsible with taxpayer, because this is ARPA, but it's federal, but it's still money that we're all contributing to. So I mean, we're trying to be responsible with
I
the
think
funds.
with that, we're trying to help the new ones get up and off the ground.
Yeah,
And the,
exactly.
and the ones to come down the road.
Yeah.
But I think you have to realize, if you look at our board,
Mhm.
we had great support at the beginning and we're getting nothing now. I tried to do a fundraiser and
Okay.
I went business to business. I wanted to do the cards. Businesses in Denison would not support us. We
That's
do,
unfortunate. The
That's
ones that
very-
need your help the most won't support you.
right, but I would like to say, because right before I came, I looked up on the kids where we serve kids from currently.
Sure.
A lot are from Denison. We have Dow City, Kyron, Schleswig, Manila, Dunlap, Arion, is that how you said that? Odable and Deloitte. So we serve not just Denison, we serve the entire.
Well, I don't think we ever doubted that.
Yeah, it's good to hear them
Right.
statistics though.
Real quick on your fundraising, those would be newer daycares that just had recent fundraising.
Yeah.
Denison 20+ years ago had a significant fundraising effort to build the facility, so
Okay.
it would have matched identical to what the other two communities in the county did at that time.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent.
so.
And I have talked to board members on both Schleswig and Manila, and they have a great board, but they also have a lot of community support, and for some reason, we don't. I don't know if it's the larger town, the dynamics of the town, what, but
Well, you think the businesses that need the daycare so they can have employees would be extremely supportive.
you would think.
One would think that, yeah.
Do the other daycares pay rent, do you know, to the facilities?
They own them.
Under the sun owns
They own
theirs, I think.
Now I got school.
Yeah,
They own that dope free. They got the,
The actual daycare owns it.
yeah.
They gotta give it to
I'm not sure
them,
on,
I
on
think, from the, at least when
Well,
I
they-
went from the school.
Schleswig got
what
a
that.
big
how that all
money
worked out.
from a church,
well, I mean,
and
that's,
And
that's
did they-
good, that's
did-
community
You know,
support.
did any of them get, Kim, did any of them get any state funding? Cause I know it was kind of a priority of the governor for childcare and
I believe
for,
they both
I don't know.
did.
there were some grants that were
did you apply
available
for
through
state-
states that
state
weren't
grants?
available prior.
That's a good question.
We,
Seems like I've
for
heard something
operational,
about that.
for operational expenses, we did receive that. If we didn't get that, we may not be open today, because money, we're losing money, basically. We're a fine line, because how much we can charge parents and still make it affordable for the parents. And then how much we have to pay for staff. We've had to give tremendous staff increases. We don't get benefits other than we now have paid vacation time. We didn't have any of that. Like, I am full-time, I get no retirement, I have no insurance through them, nothing. I mean, daycare is not a money-making proposition, but
So
it's
a lot of your-
important for the.
A lot of your clientele would then be lower income families as well.
I have that information.
Thank you.
So we're licensed for 146 children. We currently have 111 that are enrolled, and we have a waiting list. I can't take those kids because we can't get staff. Every time I get staff, we gain 2, we lose 1. I mean, it's just, but we also have some staff that have been here since it opened 21 years ago. But of those 111 kids, 53 children meet the income guidelines for free and reduced meals. And then 40 children and their families receive childcare assistance from the state, which means that they probably wouldn't be in a licensed childcare facility if they didn't receive that. They would go to the person that would have 20 people in their house and, you know.
We understand.
So we also have 25 employees.
It's
So-
25 employees?
25 employees. I don't think people realize.
I didn't.
And you
That
gotta
we
have
do
quite a
have.
few per, how many to children? I mean, there's all the regulations.
Yeah,
I think the other ones are, I don't know if they struggle with it, but I mean, they're all working to find help, just like any other business in America right now.
right,
Mhm.
right. And when your pay is among the lowest of any positions, makes it even more challenging.
Sure, and without the benefits, yeah, I get that. So what would be your objective with these funds? I guess that would be something that this board would be concerned with then. I mean, what would these funds, where would you go with them? Is that?
They're supposed to go toward the playground.
Playground?
We, I did write it for, or ask for it for the playground because we've spent probably 2 years at least
Mhm.
getting estimates on what the playground would cost. It's shocking, and every time we get an estimate, it goes up
Sure.
because everything has increased. To do a playground of our size, it's going to be almost $100,000. I've written grants, we've received grants, but we get grants for 5,000, 7,000. And they have to be spent within a calendar year or so long. So if you have 7,000, that doesn't even put a dent in the $100,000 cost. So then you're stuck. So basically, we've been doing repairs. We have a section of one of our playgrounds that has the solid surfacing, that if we would leave the building, the solid surfacing and stuff would stay and things that we've put in. But it actually has a section about this big and this deep that is out of it. I mean, it needs to be repaired. We got an estimate just to replace that solid surfacing, and I think it was like $31,000 for that. We got a grant for 7,000. It doesn't cut it. And we don't have the funds to do that. So what I have done is we've gotten repair kits. I'm waiting for the weather to be above 50 degrees in the night and everything, because that's the most effective way to replace this solid surfacing, the part that's bad. The actual playground equipment that we have, the plastic or rubber that protects the metal. When we were kids, we had metal slides, we had all of that, it was fine. Today, standards, you can't have that. You have to have the metal covered. Ours isn't. I've looked at 2 different ways to get that fixed. As just a short-term repair, it might last a year.
Okay.
Just because there's so many kids using it and everything. So really, that equipment doesn't meet standards. We need to remove it and
So would
make
you
it.
use the 25,000 towards the purchase of new, or would you be used for repair of old?
I have a grant that is covering the repair of the solid surfacing that we've gotten taken care of. What I would like is the grant to kick us off, or the 25,000 to kick us off, and then we can get other grants and then maybe do a fundraiser and say, hey, we already have this much toward a playground, and try to get parents and things on board. It's very daunting to say we need to raise $100,000 without that kickstart
That
of
makes sense.
funds.
Maybe with Gordon here, that'll help you reach out to the community a little bit. Okay.
Cautious though, I mean, 25,000, we commit that. And but you say a lot of them grants have to be spent within a calendar year, and if you don't get those.
Mhm.
It's a vicious cycle. I mean, I wish we had would the other two participants of the 2080 agreement be willing to help fund this playground upgrade?
We,
We need to ask that question too, I mean, cause
It's a good question.
25,000, that's a quarter of the way to 100,000, that's a long ways to go.
we
And
do
maybe
have
get
Head
grants.
Start that shares the building with us. And they get federal funds, which Head Starts typically receive pretty good tax dollars. They are willing to put money in, so I think that would help because they use the same playground. We share the facilities. We had talked to them before about it, and they would put money in as well.
They pay rent too.
Yes, yes, it is.
Probably
They have
West
two
Central.
spaces in the
Is that West
facility
Central?
and then the Imagination Station has the rest of the facility.
Yeah,
And they get federal funds.
Yeah.
To have Head Start done. Give them the bill and they collect the rent. They don't have to pay rent, they collect rent. That's a whole different subject matter though, but
Yeah,
what, yeah.
and the $4,000 that we do get, it helps offset my salary, but just to let you know, Thursday and Friday, 90% of my days, Thursday and Friday, were spent on building things.
Yeah.
I had HVAC people there, I had felt fire people there, I had the city, which the city has been a tremendous support with getting some of those things done. The school has been a tremendous support, making sure
Technology.
all the
I
technology
know Eric does a lot to help.
and everything has been upgraded, so, I mean, there is a lot, it's a 20-year-old building.
Right.
Dishwasher quits, the refrigerator quits, we share the washer and dryer. I mean, if you walked through the facility, you would see all the repairs and maintenance that need to be done. I applied for a grant for paint, we didn't get it. I just applied and we received a grant for an interior facelift, which technically, according to the 2080 agreement, I believe is the 2080's responsibility to do that.
We just put a roof on the facility, we just upgraded the fire alarm system, and we just
Right.
upgraded the flooring, so. I
So
think the 2080, yeah, we've done a lot in the last 2
Right.
fiscal years of really.
Yep.
they've done a lot, so
Yeah, Gene and
I,
I were on for a lot of that.
So if we dissolve the 2080 going forward,
and that's why
Give
I
them
wrote the grant
give
so
them
we
the
could
building.
get
give
some
them the
help.
building.
They collect rent, but that's a different
Different apple for a different day.
apple, but
We're
we
not
got
here for
different.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look out for you guys.
Can I make a comment, is that okay?
Sure, sure,
I just want
please.
you to know there is a request going into the city of Denison as well for any of those ARPA funds that have not been allocated, so maybe a match would be what we're
A
looking at.
request from Imagination Station to the city.
Yes, so I just wanted you to know that too.
I mean, cause I serve on the West Central Iowa Community Action Board, and they're the ones with the Head Start.
Mhm.
I certainly would inquire to them to see what kind of funds they would anticipate putting towards that, since you said that they would. I can find that out and bring that back. Perfect. I mean, cause I don't think it's something we have to decide today, but I mean, if we can get more entities to
Well, and
contribute.
a lot of times we do these things with the city where we'll match up to a certain amount that they do. I mean, that could be something that we would do
And
here.
Mike would talk to the school board, see if the school would be willing to put some money in, maybe we.
Gordon writes.
I mean, let's face it, childcare is an important aspect of our communities. I mean,
Well, there's no
we
doubt
can't
about
ignore
it.
that, but you know, we've got to be, well, this board likes to be frugal. You know, I mean, we want to be very efficient with our dollars, you know, we're trying to offset these large valuations that just came down the pipe, so we're we're trying to make sure we got our budgets in line now, so that when them come up, we can fight that best we can anyway. So these are the things we're looking at. And you know, it's like Kyle brought up this morning, sometimes it looks like we've got a little bit of a nest egg sitting there, but it's our ARPA funds that are already committed, 750,000 to go to the rec center and some things like that. So might look like we got some cash on hand, but in theory, it's already got a home. So our dollars are limited now, so that's why we're being frugal. We're not trying to count anybody out here. I mean, I certainly appreciate, and I'm sure the whole board does, that you guys came in and gave us this. I mean, you gave us some good statistics. We understand your plight a lot better now. And so it gives us more to look at. And I think that, you know, something like a match with the city or something like that.
We can dig into the different avenues and see and go from there.
Yeah.
See if we can help you round up 100,000.
Right.
Yeah.
The kids deserve it.
Well, no doubt,
No
no
doubt about it.
get no argument from this
There's no doubt
table.
about it.
Yeah.
It's hard sitting here because a lot of well-deserved people come in and watch.
Oh, I
We just gotta
totally
try to sit
understand
through
that,
and
and
make best decisions.
Sarah
Appreciate
sits
you
on the
coming in.
board. I think she would
Yeah.
say how frugal I am.
Oh, and we witnessed, Gene and I, and now these guys are able to witness it now. I mean, I don't see anything being wasted there. I mean,
You're on a pretty tight ship.
Exactly right.
It's down to
yeah,
the wire.
yeah.
And we managed to stay open for 20 years. That's gotta say something.
21.
21.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and what we can do to kind of help
Maybe, yeah.
nudge some
And
folks.
same with the other centers, that's great, you know,
Yeah.
I hope they have the same longevity as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've actually lost my wife for 8 hours a day. When I call her, she can't do anything after she's watching the kid, because Charter Oak doesn't have daycare. Which I'm sure it's just breaking her heart, but anyway, well, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Should be putting them to work in the flower garden.
What's that?
The little kid, she'll be out there on them and then.
Oh, she's already got to figure out she's gonna put big wheels on the little bouncy chair that goes. Anyway, credit card for county attorney.
No, you skipped
Oh, did I skip one? Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Yes, I did.
You
Sorry.
authorized signature.
10:30. I was looking at the
We're
clock.
almost, this one will go fast.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. 10:30, update authorized signatures for the Farm Service Company. That's
Farm Service Agency.
Farm Service Agency, FSA
Yeah.
office.
FSA, yeah.
That would be Kyle and Craig.
Yeah, we're the two county farmers.
They're the two on the
so
farm, so.
They can't let us sign unless they have permission from this board to let us sign papers. So
So I would entertain a motion to approve Kyle and Craig.
I will make that motion.
Gene, would you like to second that? Please be there.
I think.
I'll second it.
I think
Well,
you
you're-
guys
I'll
will.
second, I can second that.
Okay, we've had a motion made by Mr. Mulbauer, second by Mr. Dozark. I think I can
I
actually.
think you could too.
I think,
if you wanted
in
to.
fact, put me down as the second if you would.
Well, it's not a conflict of interest second, I think.
Well, your names are on it, so it makes it,
Right, but I mean, it's
removes
it's
any,
not.
any opportunity for a DA to come after you. Okay, all in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay.
Now,
Discuss and take action. Credit card for the county attorney. $250 limit, is that what?
It doesn't need to be high limit at all. The reason we made this request is we've run into issues where we need to get sheriff's departments from other jurisdictions paid
Mhm.
to serve our subpoenas. Sometimes there's time limits on notice requirements that we need them at a hearing or especially at a trial. But sometimes we find ourselves in a position where we need to react fairly quickly
Gotcha.
and get subpoenas out. Our current process is that, and not every law enforcement charges us. Some, and you never know which ones will and which ones won't. Like, we've had good luck in Minnesota, where they'll say, hey, you know, if we're doing it for the government, we won't charge anything, we'll just get out and do it. But other places are like, we need upfront costs. We won't even do anything until we get your payment. And right now, the way that we get them paid is to submit a request to the auditor,
after the fact.
And then it takes, they cut checks on just a regular basis, which makes sense. So we have to kind of wait and time it and then submit our bill, get the money, get the check sent, and then they'll start serving our documents. So we just need a way to be more nimble. And the best way that we thought would just to have an authorization, have the county cut us a
And then
credit card, or
basically-
give us access if the county has a credit card
By department.
already.
My department.
Is it by department? Okay, so then we would want one. I think maybe Bonnie called you about that. I think that's what,
That's why it's on the agenda.
that's why it's on the agenda for us to have a credit card, yes.
I don't make that decision.
Right. And so, but you got a choice, you're looking at Chase or you're looking at GM Financial or something, because we can get points for
No.
vehicles or something. or-
First National, that's who we use. You're welcome.
We'll use
Way to
whatever
think.
you guys want us to use. We don't really care what it is.
Trying to get a
Do
new
they
car
get
out of
kickback?
this.
What is,
No, we
what is
don't
the
get
limit you're
points.
after?
It doesn't need to be high at all. I mean,
Can you get credit cards with low limits these days? It seems like
What's
whenever
low, 1,000?
1,000 would be more than enough. I mean, 500 would probably be sufficient. So whatever's gonna get the best deal, for the county as far as rates and points.
Everything else is through First National, obviously.
And we would see the transactions.
What do you think is like, typically, I mean, so we could put the right limit on it?
To serve, on average, is probably around $40 per service. And it varies on how many people we need to serve at any given time, and they're not all in the same spot, like sometimes people are over in Nebraska, some people are over in eastern Iowa, because, it's hard,
So 1,000.
it'd be plenty, it'd be absolutely plenty.
And we would see that every month, the expense report on that credit card.
Weekly.
Or by.
Right, we'll get the bill and he submits. You need,
Okay.
yeah.
and then we may go months without using it, but the thing is, we need to have the ability to be.
Well, then you can turn in your bill to her, or
Yeah.
turn in what you
Same
got.
as every other credit card that departments have. so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
And then, I mean, this will all be pulled out of my budget. Anyway, we submit the bill, show the payment out of my budget to satisfy the bill. Yeah.
so you probably need to know where it comes
The
out of your
receipts
budget.
need to be attached.
What line
Of
item,
course,
yeah.
yeah, we'll get invoices from
Mhm.
those people, for the departments.
Mr.
I
Mulbauer,
will approve the motion to provide or allow you to have a credit card with the county attorney.
okay,
With the.
I'll
I'll
second that. I'll second.
okay, we've got a motion for $1,000 limit on a card from Mr. Mulbauer, seconded by Ms. Hayden. Or any further discussion? All in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, motion carried.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I got your email.
Thanks, Gene.
It was an old case, as you know. so I made some
Next thing on the agenda,
corrections. I had
10:35.
them now, then I'll go through and respond to you in a second.
Discuss, Jake, come on up, IT Director, the ICE alphabet soup and Tyler contract amendment.
Okay, yeah, we'll get next week.
Yeah, alphabet soup. So there's two documents here that we're doing the discuss and take action on. I sent out in an email, the MOU.
Okay.
I just, that memorandum of understanding is, to cover a piece of software called CrowdStrike. We've talked about it in the past, last year, I know a lot by. The intent was, eventually the intent is going to be to replace our antivirus. Right now, its intended purpose is to replace a program called FireEye. And FireEye is a piece of software that reports back to the state of any doings on our machines. Okay, so like for instance, if there was a piece of malware that was executing an action on that device, it gets FireEye will flag it, gets sent to the state or to the SOC, Security Operations Center. I get a call and we remediate it. So great program with FireEye. Okay, we had an issue a couple of years ago that it caught, and the only real delay is I didn't recognize the phone number of the individual that was calling us. It was actually, they didn't have the SOC, the Security Operations Center brought up yet. And we were delayed by about 30 minutes. But I had that device, once they notified me, I had that device off the network and re-imaged within a day. So it's a great program. The reason why they're getting away from FireEye is because FireEye is being absorbed by another company, and their CrowdStrike is going to offer more features than FireEye was. So, and CrowdStrike is free. Okay, we're not committing any dollars to this organization, to this, okay? One thing to note though, and these are the cons of what's being proposed here, is we are obligated, we can set our own device limit, okay? If we do not meet that, because it's actually being funded by ARPA from the state's level, they're gonna ask questions, because once those dollars are committed, they can't do anything with it after that. So they're paying on our behalf for each individual license of those devices. Okay, so each computer would get CrowdStrike on it, and that's a cost to the state that they're committing to ARPA. Okay, if we don't use that, those dollars just are up in smoke. Okay, so that's the reason why there's that part of it. I put 100 devices on there just because that's what our current animal is at, really, really close. I think we're at like 98. So
will this cover you in the future then if we have to add something?
Because so to give you a little bit of further more information, we signed an MOU covering all of OCIO's services with the county approximately a year, 2 years ago. This is just kind of an addition to that. Strike wasn't part of it.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
this need to be stamped by you.
Not necessarily.
Okay. All I think it requires is just the chairman's signature. So, just be advised that potentially can expire in 3 years. It says that in the document itself. And is there going to be a renewal? That's still up in the air. Okay, they haven't committed anything.
This is actually data expiration 28 February of 25.
25, yep. Okay, so 2 years. So, but you get where I'm going with that.
No
Yep.
cost updates our agreement.
Yep, that's pretty much what it is.
Yep, pretty good.
Any questions about that at all?
I like it when people come up here and ask for no money to do
Yeah,
something.
seems to be an unusual circumstance, but yeah, we like it.
I'll make a motion.
But the Tyler one does, right?
Tyler's not gonna require any additional funds. That is something different, and we'll discuss that here in a second. One other thing.
Probably discuss it because it's all in one action.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Because I saw the Tyler fees were
Okay.
Hold your mouth,
66,000.
hold your mouth.
Don't really yelling yet.
That's,
motion.
I mean, it looks like we've had an agreement with Tyler for 10 years.
Yeah, we've had it for quite some time. The problem.
What is Tyler?
Tyler is
Who
the
is Tyler?
Tyler Technologies is the software company that pretty much runs our county for the most part. Encode, they use Tyler Content Manager over at the Treasurer's Office. The keeping program that we're looking at, that's part of Tyler. It is the bread and butter of this county.
All use it.
Yep.
Every office uses it, don't it?
Yep.
Maybe the county attorney.
I mean, we submit our invoices through it, and that's our thing for the most part.
And the contract amendment is,
It is a renewal because there was a goof as of 2017, according to Tyler, that we couldn't renew on a year-to-year basis. It only covered like a 3-year the renewal for 3 years, and we're doing a year-to-year now. So.
Okay. Just your.
okay,
Yeah.
so
There's one other caveat I want to take a step back with that MOU, okay? The intent eventually is to replace our antivirus, okay? My belief was that this product would be ready to replace that our antivirus as of the beginning of the next fiscal year, so July of this year. Okay, that product is currently not ready yet, okay, according to the other counties that have been doing a pilot with it. It still works for FireEye, okay, but it does not fulfill our requirements for antivirus, okay? So that being said, we have not budgeted next year for antivirus, okay? Because of my intent and belief was this product was going to be ready, okay? It is not, so we may have to renew depending on timelines and things along those lines, okay? So just making sure that we understand that we will be in a flux type situation with antivirus next fiscal year. I may have to use our software line items to cover that cost, okay? So, but the belief is that moving forward, this product should replace that one.
Okay.
Okay, so that's.
Did the fees from Tyler go up over last year?
No, I think they were at still 66,000 and some change. So.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding and the Tyler contract agreement update amendment.
Yeah. Second.
Moved by Mr. Schultz, second by Mr. Dozark. Any other questions? All in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye, obviously. Opposed, nay. Everybody's here. Motion carries.
All right.
I have one other thing. This is not an actionable item. Okay. But I'm putting it on your guys' radar, okay? The RFP that we have for the server room. The security that we have written into that only covers 1 year. So the cameras and the badges, they only cover 1 year of licensing, okay? The issue is that the way that product is built, once it ships, that license starts, okay? Well, we want to get the equipment, but we don't want that clock to start until we actually are able to implement those devices. Make sense? Okay. We're obviously not in a position at City Center to start building or to start putting those devices in, okay?
Yeah.
So the RFP was written for 1 year. There was no subsequent 3 or 5 year options in that, okay? Now, I'm working the issue with the 3 and the 5, okay? And Verkada, the manufacturer, is willing to give us a discounted rate, a one-time discounted rate for those 3 and potentially 5 year options, up to $2,000 on the licenses, okay? However, again, the RFP was only written for 1 year, okay? So the dollar amount does not cover the 3 and 5 year options. Does that make sense? Okay, so what we're gonna need to do is amend or provide some sort of amendment or change to address our time issue here of when we're implementing this equipment, okay? We tried to see with the ARPA committee about 2 weeks ago if the IT grant would cover that, and over at Public Health, it does not cover security items. So now I'm kind of going back to the well regarding ARPA. The cost of that is for 3 years, it's $5,000. For 5 years, it's $8,000. Okay, and we're looking at roughly about a $2,000 discount from Verkada. Okay, so it doesn't really behoove us to do a year because that's going to be expired. We're not going to be able to get in there before that, or at least effectively use that money. So that's why I'm mentioning to you guys, 3 and 5 year are going to need to take place, and we're probably going to have to.
You get a hold of him then, got a buddy, still got any pulls in the company, or see what's available for grants
3
on
5.
Childcare.
So, but just putting it on your radar.
That's not annually, that was for that time period. whatever
Exactly,
time
the
period.
3 years or the 5 years, okay? But the problem is that the RFP only covered 1. Okay, so.
Okay, thanks, Jay.
Yep, no
Thanks,
problem.
Jake.
What would you like me to do with these documents? Okay.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
On his secretary too.
Okay, citizens input. None from Gordon. And I'd entertain a
Anything
motion.
more I needed to sign with that end, with what Jake did or not? We don't need to sign.
No,
No,
just
no,
the
no,
chair
no,
did.
Just the chair. Okay, all right,
Yep.
perfect.
Okay, I'd
I move we
entertain.
adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr.
Did you
Dozark,
sign
second by
that?
Mr. Mulbauer. Now you got her looking.
You didn't sign the Tyler one.
I didn't. I don't remember seeing more than one place to sign. I looked through, I
Put that
thought,
on.
There you go.
I just left it.
okay.
The average for me is 50 to 70.
Motion was made and second by Mr. Dozark, second by Mr. Mulbauer to adjourn.
Okay.
Any further questions? All in favor state so by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Meeting adjourned.
All right, I'll be in a little bit to sign everything.
Gene, appreciate you checking in.
All right.
Tell Jerry